So now, John Corabi, you've got the, is it pronounced Così Bella?
Yep.
Così Bella single, which people are absolutely loving. It's got that really great melody, that sing along type song. Feels autobiographical, people can relate to it. And obviously, you have the book, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, coming up, where you spill your guts, and I know, like we said, you just did the audio book, so people
Yeah.
can hear your voice tell your story, which is always great. And talk about the single, you and the reaction that you felt, and where's that going to lead? Is that going to be an EP or a album? You're going to keep doing singles? What's happening with music?
I'm trying to do a single every like month and a half, 2 months with a video, put it out there, promote it. Marty was really the catalyst for this whole thing because, as you know, you may still buy vinyl. I still buy vinyl and CDs, and but the percentage of those people that actually do that is really small. So Marty was talking to me. He's like, dude, why are you like killing yourself to get a record done? Just do a song, just put a song out, do a video, keep working on your record, make sure that when you release it, it's got 10 killer tracks on it. But this gives you the time to like really work on the record, get it really right. But he said, release a single with a video, wait a couple months, release another single and a video, wait a couple months, just do that, maybe 3, 4, 5 songs, and then drop the record. It's a different way of doing things. Like, the days of having a massive conglomerate machine behind you and buying ads in magazines and MTV and radio support and all that, it's all gone. So you got to think of a new way of doing it. And now it's all about like all the streaming sites. Like streaming actually is the modern day radio. And then, there is no MTV. So the modern day MTV is YouTube. So I'm kind of new at this. I'm still trying to figure it out. But Marty was the one that said, dude, just do a single, throw it out there, see what happens. And then follow it up with another kick-ass single. And, so at some point there will be vinyl and CDs for sale. And then I'm just going to do what everybody else has been doing the last probably 10 years or so. If you really think about bands like myself, or even the Dead Daisies for that matter, pretty much all of the records we sold were sold through the deaddaisies.com, Amazon, or at the shows.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
nothing's really changing for me. Nothing. Sure. It's just a different way of promoting. Oh, hey, there's something coming. You know what I mean? So that's
you could put out an album all the time, but if you don't have a song that people love, there's not going to be that many people drawn to it. So, Marty's got the right idea. Put out songs, find something they like, and then they'll have a reason to buy the album.
The thing of it is, this thing is a computer in your back pocket. And, it's funny, like I talk to my wife about it all the time, but my wife is a prime example. She's a huge music fan. And, she loves Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden just put out a new record. My wife is not going to get in the car and drive to look for a record store where she can buy the new Iron Maiden record. So she goes on here, she finds the Iron Maiden record, and they have all those little 30 or 40-second snippets of all the songs. She listens to all of them, and she downloads the ones that she likes. So that's what it's come to, and the streaming thing. Now she's, I'm at home, I'm in my little home studio. My wife in my house, like due to COVID, we have a little hair salon in the house. And so she just has Pandora and she'll type in Iron Maiden radio or John Corabi radio or Led Zeppelin radio. And she just listens to that all day for her clients. So it's a really different world than what it used to be. And I'm just, to be honest with you, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, but it seemed like when the way Marty explained it to me, it made sense. And so I went, okay, let's give this a shot,
Yeah. Well,
So-
we miss the independent record stores. We miss MTV. We miss all the rock magazines like we had. But the one constant is a great song is a great song. I don't care if you stream it, buy it, download it, get it on vinyl, get it on CD, get it on cassette. It still comes down to having a song that you want to hear again. It's repeatability, and that's what you've done, Cosabella. And what's the next single coming up? What do you got in the chamber?
I have quite a few songs already recorded. But I kind of, for some apparent reason, the ones that I did were a little, I don't want to say out of my wheelhouse, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you listen to Cosabella, like the one thing that everybody had said across the board, oh, we really love the song. Not what I would have expected from you, but we really love the song. So I have a couple of tunes here that are a little more maybe in my wheelhouse, a little more maybe Zeppelin-esque or bluesy. So right now I'm just trying to get those together, get a video done. And, so I want to get these finished. And then I've got other ones, I'm kind of all over the map though, because I love so much different types of music. I've got songs that are very kind of Stonesy, Black Crowsy vibe to them. If I hate comparing to other bands. And then I've got some stuff that's just really kind of electric Americana storytellers kind of things. So I just want to hit people with a couple of the heavier tracks. And when I say heavy, I'm talking like Zeppelin heavy or Aerosmith heavy. Hit them with a couple more tracks and just so that they're like, oh, okay, cool. He's not going into a British pop, fucking mode, whatever. So it's really eclectic. I love eclectic bands. I love all types of music. I've got everything in my phone from, Black Sabbath to Frank Sinatra, So I just want to write music and put it out there. And the ones that stick with the fans, that'll be one of the 10 that I put on the record. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, because I know it must have been kind of cathartic to finally get the story out in full. You've done so many interviews, you've done so many projects, it must have been, a relief to get it out there. I know you've said it might piss a couple ex-wives off, but you're telling your story, it's real and you're not holding back. What can people expect? I know it's highly anticipated.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't even want to do a book. The guy that I wrote it with, Paul Miles, said something to me when I was in Australia doing some shows. And he suggested me doing a book. And I was like, no, it's gotten to the point now where it's like, there's fucking musicians they're not even doing their autobiography at this point. They're like, it's become so watered down where it's like, there's fucking musicians doing cookbooks, there's musicians doing books on like how to shave your dog. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, fuck. So I kind of felt like I was jumping on a bandwagon. But Paul said something to me And he said, you know what, dude, like, you're the kind of guy, he said, even though you had those chapters in the dirt, he goes, I would honestly, I would feel very safe saying that there's 98% of even the Motley fans who know who you are haven't got a clue of who you are. Like, you're kind of like this mystery. You just kind of pop in every now and then, you do some records, and then you disappear. And it's like, you know, you've been like this largely mysterious figure in the music industry for the last 30 years. So I said, all right, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's see what the deal is. So we did all these interviews and we put everything together in a book form. And Paul, having written a couple of books, and he's an avid reader, he was like, dude, I think your story is fascinating. Like, just all these, you know, I mean, I literally go back to birth till about a year ago. And so he thought it was fascinating. We wound up getting a publishing deal. And then even when I was doing the audiobook, I was talking with the president of the publishing company. And I was saying, listen, man, you've done books before. Like, is my story even remotely interesting? And he was like, oh yeah. This is great, dude. No, it's really cool. Because my thing is, I'm a huge fan of those, to a degree. Huge fan of those VH1 behind the scenes video things that they did. And that was my biggest thing, is like, I'm not that guy. Like, that's not the story that I have to tell. It's not, you know, about a band that gets together and the childhood friends, they get together, they create all this music, they get a record deal, they become hugely successful, they start doing drugs and partying, and they break up due to the drugs and partying, and then, you know, they go their separate ways, failing miserably, and then they finally kiss and make up, and they get sober, and they live happily ever after. I said, that's not really my story. So but on the flip side, Paul's like, no, he goes, I think the beauty of your story is that it's not that story. It's just this, you know, I've been the king of being at the right place, but always at the wrong time. And that's hence the name Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. With horseshoes and hand grenades, you just got to be close. So that's my story, and I'm really excited about it. Everybody at the publishing company seems genuinely excited about the book. Paul's excited about the book. I like, you know, I'm so close to it, so I'm like, I have no idea how it's gonna take off or not take off or whatever, but we'll see, man. We'll keep my fingers crossed. Hope everybody enjoys it, and hope it gives everybody a little more insight to who John Corabi is and why I've made some of the decisions that I've made in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's I'm sure a unique story, and people are definitely anticipating. I know when you announce it's coming out in April, it's like, man, it seems like a year away. You know, once you get it done, you feel like you want to get it out. But I guess it's the machine. You know, they gotta ramp it up and print the books and
It's so
get it.
crazy. Like, we've actually done it's written, we've done the audiobook, you know, but now it's weird, like, unbeknownst to me, they literally just sent us a video, or not a video, an email a couple days ago, and it's like this there's like this set of rules that applies to all books being written and released into the literary world. And it's like just these weird things, like, you can't I can't even, for example, it's like, when to capitalize, when not to capitalize. Uh, you know, like as far as the use of numbers, like unless it's a year, a specific year, they don't want you to write like, oh, when you say something and you generalize, like, oh, the 70s, so they don't want you to write 70'S. They want you to write it out, so we've done the editing part where everything's good, everything's proper, it all flows, the commas are in the right place. But now, like, there's this other set of rules that every publishing company has to abide by like this there's this like board of what's proper and not proper in books. So that's the next step. And it's like, so now everybody's going through their Word documents and looking at highlighting all of the things that are, okay, we need to change that, and they're just changing it from maybe a number to an actual spelling. And, it's just all this weird hoops you jump through. And then once that's done, it goes into what they call typesetting, which is where they put all the typeset together and they just start running the books. They start printing them. So
yeah, who would have known there was all these all these like, rules,
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like literally a whole page that so I wrote the book, I turned it into a publishing company, but the publishing company has to abide by this set of rules, basically handed down by like almost like a committee, so it's just all these steps you got to go through. But the book is done. They're talking about possible pre-orders at the end of this year, and an early, I want to say maybe April 12th, I believe that's the date, that they're talking about releasing it. So it's done.
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. We're loving the new music. Can't wait to hear the next single. Of course, we're counting down to the book. We already know there's going to be some tidbits in there that are above and beyond all the interviews you've done. And, it's a fascinating story. Every time I speak to you, I glean more.
I don't think there's going to be any revelations in there as far as any of the bands that I'm like, there's not really, like, everything that I went through with Motley is common knowledge. What this does is it kind of dives into my mental state when I was going through, joining and going up to Vancouver and doing that first record and all the unbelievably exciting things that I was going through and how I coped with, going from a virtual unknown into this band, you know what I mean? And just all the things. And then even at the end, as it was all beginning to fall apart and deteriorate, it's not like I'm telling any stories that people haven't heard before. What I'm telling you is my side, like how stressed I was, or the stomach ache and ulcers that I was getting over, is this it, and just all these different things. So hopefully it'll give some of the fans insight, and even the fans that still to this day are like, fuck you, I hate you, you should have never been in Motley. Maybe it'll give them a little clarity and they'll go, oh, okay, I could totally understand why this guy joined that band. Do you know what I mean? So who knows? Again, like I said, it's a roll of the dice with anything anymore. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I know you're learning as you grow, and it's showing, man. There's no more rules. If people love it, you love it. That's all that matters. Our special guest has been John Corabi. You know him, you love him. He's from all the bands, and of course the stories coming up in the book, but more importantly, the solo music coming up. And we can't wait to see you out there eventually on the road playing these songs and bringing it back to California, bringing it back to all the states that, miss live music, man. It's going to be a real pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us, John.
Thanks for having me, man.